Morning thought for the day. Yesterday, a friend of mine sent me a post that I shared. Ooh, I've got to be careful. Have I stepped on anyone? No. See, that's the message. Be careful that you're not stepping on someone. So what I shared was an article written by a man who was making the observation that there are far more women now, the awakened women, who are choosing to stay single rather than align in relationships with men who were uncommunicative, was lacking communication skills, lacking emotional intimacy and emotional availability. And I thought, yeah, well, I'm one of those women. It was interesting to see because I don't normally see that, and I recognize that. And they said that there are, even on dating apps, it used to be that there was like what? I don't remember what the odds were. I'm not going to say the odds right because I don't remember what they were, but it was something like 10 to 1 for every 10 women to every guy available, right? And now they're saying it's reversing. And I thought, well, good, because people are waking up to what they deserve. But it's in no way to say that men have not experienced this. Now, my friend responded, my friend from California, who is, I know the kind of woman he's dealt with because he's told me what he's experienced in his own life. And that woman is not me. I have grown a lot. I know that my ex-husband, who I would absolutely put in as one of the few men who are emotionally available, communicative, very caring. He's a great guy. He's a wonderful person. We were just going on different paths, and he deserved to be with his soulmate, and I deserved to be with mine. And we had kind of grown in different areas. And you know, I've grown a lot since we were together. We didn't speak for 2 years after our divorce. And then we became best friends, and we hung out for 5 years. And I actually helped him and his wife get together, and she's my best friend in California. And he said to me at one point when we were hanging out, and we never had we didn't have sex, we didn't kiss, there was nothing. We were best friends. That's it. That's all it was. But we really liked each other, and we missed each other, and we had chosen each other because of who we were. We liked who we'd chosen, right? We had chosen wisely. And so he said, man, if you were the way you are now, when we were married, you know, at the end, we wouldn't have gotten divorced. And I said, but I wasn't, and I couldn't be. So cool. It's a different looking one, right? Than all the others. I know it looks like a cicada, but it doesn't have the wings for some strange reason. So maybe it's different. I'm not sure. Maybe the wings just aren't out right now. Anyway, I've had a really difficult life. He was raised by a beautiful, wonderful family, and his mother is still one of his closest friends. And he told me when we were divorced, we were sitting there after my mother's funeral, and I forgot to tell you what I said. I said that if I was the person that I am now when we got married, we would never have gotten married, because I was going on a spiritual path. It's a different, you know, I had a lot of growing to do. I know he's grown a lot too, and I think he's a freaking amazing person. I count him as one of my friends, and like I said, I helped his wife and him get together. I knew the second I met her, she was perfect for him. She's an amazing, amazing person. I get emotional speaking of them. I love them both, and I'm super glad they have each other. But I went on a spiritual journey, and at my mother's funeral, there was a couple, my friends that I had known for years. They had been through, well, she had been through so much with me, through every difficult marker of my life, of the things that occurred. My life has been pretty difficult. And she recounted the story. And I remember one time before when they came over, you know, which is the custom when, you know, it seems to be when people from the past get together, they talk about the past. And he wasn't a part of that. And he took me aside and he said, I don't like that. He says, every time you guys get together, you're always talking about stuff that I wasn't a part of, and it makes me feel excluded. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't want you to feel that way. So here we were years later, divorced, but still best friends hanging out. And we went back to his place after my mother's wake, or whatever you call it, celebration of life. It wasn't a wake, it wasn't a funeral. And my girlfriend started to tell the stories again, started talking to my kids, because my son was old enough to understand and know, and my daughter, she was very young and mercifully didn't go through a lot of that, but she went through some pretty horrible things too. And so she started telling a story of this particular time of my life, and my ex-husband at the time he went outside, and I said, I went outside on the patio. He went out to do something with the barbecue, and I went outside and I said, I'm sorry, I told them not to talk about the past anymore. I don't want you to feel, especially in your own home, you opened up your own home to all of us, and I don't want you to feel excluded. And he said, no, it's not that. And then he came back and he said, I'm sorry. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, what you told me that happened to you, I didn't believe you. And I said, you didn't believe me? Why? I'm not a liar. I don't lie. And he said, because I couldn't imagine the person that you are now would allow something like that to happen to you. And I said, I didn't allow it to happen. It didn't happen all at once. It began very, very small, and unchecked, it grew into something horrible. And obviously, I had a lot of anger in me when we got together, and I had to work through a lot of anger. And that's, one of the reasons I wasn't the person I am now. I still had a lot of growing to do. And in all truth, I had no business being married to anybody. I should have just been on my own as I am, doing my work. I am now in a place where I feel very good about who I am, but we all have a lot of issues. He had a lot of stuff he had to go through too, and he was dealing with the death of his father, who was like his best friend, and he had no business being with anyone either. His ex-wife had cheated on him, and it was horrible, right? We both had stuff, right, that we both now have, wow, listen to the cicadas. We have grown past, and that's why when he met his soulmate, he was ready for her. She's helped him a lot. And like I said, he's a freaking great guy. But anyway, the post that I shared triggered my friend. Obviously, it triggered him because of what he's experienced. And there are definitely, he said, the problem here is woke femo-masochist women. I think that's what he called them. And I said, I don't even, look at my boy. He's so dirty. Oh my goodness. He's a dirty boy. This is a cat that's supposed to be white. Red soil. Anyway, I edited the title because I just said, here, interesting reading for you, some truths. And then I edited it and I said, of course, there's truth on both sides. And when I responded to him, I said, I know the kind of woman that you have experienced, and I am and never have been her. And that's a fact. I had work to do, but I was never that. I have grown into knowing who I am. I've grown into having respect for myself. I was beat down, and I'll never be that again. And I support everyone in climbing to be the best that they can be, and in love and compassion and understanding and kindness. I am not here to debate. I don't debate. I don't like debating. I never have. It's not fun for me. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, which should be heard and is valid. I was clearly just saying, wow, that was surprising for me to see that the numbers have declined on women willing to settle for less than what they really want and deserve. And the truth of the matter is, none of us should ever settle, ever. Don't settle because you don't want to be alone. That's the biggest thing. I don't want to be alone, so I'm codependent. That was my problem. I grew up with, 5 generations of alcoholism on both sides. But it was the male members, none of the females. Isn't that curious? Except for, I think, my father's mother. I'm pretty certain she was. But what does that make the other side of the partnership? Codependent, right? So I was working on codependent issues where I'm not here to fix you. I need to work on healing myself, and you work on healing yourself. And I'm not going to be your mother. I don't want to be your mother. I'm not attracted to that. And I certainly don't want to be your father. All right. I think that the idea of marriage has been a fairy tale. A partnership has been a fairy tale, what people thought it was, and there's been a lot of pressure put on men to be a certain way, which in my life, the person that was very abusive to me called me 10 years later and apologized and asked for my forgiveness. And I got to tell you, he was raised by a very abusive father. And he was abusive to his wife and to his kids, more to his wife, emotionally abusive to the kids. But he said, I didn't know what to do. I was scared. And he goes, and I just reverted back to doing what I saw. And I'm sorry. And I looked at him, and I don't hold a grudge, right? I looked at him years later and I thought, wow. I was never afraid of him, but he was definitely stronger than me, and the bruises on my body showed it. But I just looked at him as somebody else that had been, a product of a very difficult childhood and trying to work his way through his anger. And anger is fear. And so I'm definitely not here to trigger anyone, or maybe I am. I think that we all get triggered on issues that we need to heal. And so when I walked outside, whenever I walk, I'm careful not to step on the ants. They're my messengers, right? Go to the ant, you lazy one, the Bible says. Not that I'm a Bible thumper, but I definitely had it beat into my head as a kid. So I'm careful. And if I feel like I've triggered someone, I will amend what, I had to look at what I posted and make sure that I stated in there. I've had the great pleasure of meeting emotionally available, communicative, very when men that have awakened and are definitely walking their path, walking their walk, talking their talk. I have had the pleasure of meeting those people, and as I said, my ex-husband is still my friend, and I think he's a wonderful person. Sometimes when a soul contract is done, it's done. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means you're going in a different direction. And unfortunately, religion has taught you that divorce is a sin. Clearly you don't want it. It wasn't a happy thing. It made me really sad. I'm a product of divorce, but then I'm also a product of, marrying very shortly thereafter, because I've been married since I was 17, never knowing what it was like to stand on my own 2 feet. I stand on my own 2 feet. I've been divorced for 14 years, and I have definitely grown to be a person that I like. And I'm not perfect by any means, and I won't be until I go back into spirit. We're always learning, and if we're not learning, there's a problem. But I am definitely aware of being, and please understand, I never want to step on anyone's toes. I don't want to crush anyone's spirit. And there are people that have worked really hard and have not been recognized by their spouses and have had, I know that's really, in all truth, the reason of our divorce from my ex that I'm speaking about so highly is that his ex-wife was super toxic, and she had us in court almost every month the entire time we were married. And she was a terrible, terrible woman, terrible mother. She wasn't a mother. There's a loud confirmation in that. And I had her little girl at 9 years old when we got married, and I took her on as my own. And my mother told me at the time, she will never be your daughter. The most you can ever be is your friend. And my daughter was only a couple years older than her, and they became very close. But I know that my daughter resented having this other little girl in my life, but I felt I felt obligated to protect her. And the sad thing is I wasn't able to protect my own daughter before that. Something happened to her in my own home and I didn't know. I wasn't able to protect her. As soon as I found out, it was eradicated and taken care of, but the damage had been done. And I just wanted to protect this other little girl from this horrible circumstance. And in the end, I wasn't able to do. I did love her, and she knew it. She did come to me after our divorce, and my mom told me she would. One day she'll come back, and because she hated me. I was the rule. I was the whip in the house. I was the one that said no pot at 15, no this, no that, no, you know, and they resented me, but she came to my house several years later and hugged me, and she was taller than me, and she said, I just want you to know that I understand you did what you did because you love me, and I thank you. So we are all doing the best that we can, and sadly, you know, we are all products of struggling people, and that's why we all have to do our own work. We can't be a victim. We can't blame the past. If there's something about our life that we don't like, we need to look at it and we need to work on fixing what that is, healing whatever that is, whatever you need to do in order for that to happen. And so that's why I call myself a spiritual cheerleader. I'm cheering everyone on. And it's a work that I do for myself too. Every message that Spirit sends through me that I share with to others is a message to me first. So never think that I'm sitting in judgment or sitting on a pulpit preaching while avoiding doing my own work, because that is not the case. Anyway, I hope you guys are all going to have a beautiful day today. I am. It's beautiful out here. It's cooler, which is wonderful. All right, that was it.